August 20th, 2011. This is to document why it is that I love my 2.5 car garage workshop and to show some ideas of things that I've done to make this a dedicated, fully functional, professional workshop. We'll start with my central island table saw, outfeed table / workbench. I've got the Craftsman 22124 so-called zip code saw, and it's because I've got 110 volt power only out in the garage for a variety of reasons. Now recently I've done some modifications to the saw. When originally purchased, the front rail of the table saw was just your standard 32-inch model as exists on most modest-sized table saws. Now, in all the time that I've ever owned a table saw, I've never once put the fence to the left of the blade. And this front rail used to stick out actually about 6 inches to the left of the table saw. Now, I finally realized that all of this span from here to here was completely wasted. And what I did was move that rail over and drilled a couple of additional holes in the L bracket, and I slid the rail over almost 18 inches. And now I've got about 49.5 inches worth of space for the net cost of $0. All I had to do was drill a couple of holes and move that rail across. Now this is a 2.5 car garage. I'm in a 21 deep by 24 wide space. And what I want to do is just highlight a couple of things that I've done to make this space work exceptionally well and gives me the ability to do almost anything I want to do when I report to work every morning. The first is I've got a dust collection system that's positioned right next to the door. When it's time to get the debris out of the bag, and it's just a real quick trip right out to the garbage can. It's got a centralized hose that runs around the sidewall and the back wall, and we'll get into what some of the things are attached to that in just a bit. One of the first non-obvious things I did was take a benchtop drill press, and you know, as a benchtop drill press goes, you've got that base. What I did was I swung the base around so that it's actually facing to the rear, and I bolted it down to the bench. And what that gave me the ability to do was sort of cantilever the drill press over the infeed area of the chop saw. I was able to save a good bit of real estate and still end up with a usable, workable set of functions for the drill press. Obviously we've got a chop saw, and everybody's familiar with that. Now this is a sliding compound miter saw, which means I've got all that real estate from the back of the head assembly to the rear for these rails. That means it's got to be extra deep. Now what I ended up doing was co-opting some space back there and gave me the ability to position some tools and did a lot of space conservation. You notice that the fence for the chop saw is pretty much halfway between the front end of these tables and the rear. The space to the back gives me room to do things like the drill press and the cabinet that keeps all the drill supplies, but I also gained space to park my 3 power sanders, and I've got a dust collection run coming up that pipe, and it transitions to a flex hose to get to all 3 sanders. So by doing this, I was able to net a perfectly usable depth for the sliding compound miter saw, and I've got all sorts of real estate back there to house other tools. Directly above that is some wood storage. This is one of 2 main areas for wood storage. Now the bench system is L-shaped. It transitions 8.5 feet to the back wall and then over to the right, and those are shop-built cabinets above and below. I really love the enclosed behind doors look of cabinets in the shop. I used to have exposed shelves. While functional, it just looked a mess, and it was a dust catcher. Now back here, this is my staging area for tools and mixing finishes and stains and that sort of thing. This is amazingly clean for me. And one of the reasons why this is so great is it's immediately next to the surface that I end up using as a bench. the outfeed area of the table saw does essentially three duties. Not only is it the outfeed to support all the wood coming off the table saw, but it serves as a workbench and an assembly table. I've got a record number 52.5 vise, and all of the usual suspects for measuring and marking tools are immediately below the surface right there in those two drawers. Moving along, I've got one of the better purchases I've made in quite a long time. That's the Rikon 14.5-inch Ultimate bandsaw. That bandsaw is definitely built for rock and roll. It's one of the better purchases that I have made in quite a long time. Wholeheartedly recommend it, and it was a wonderful step up from the Grizzly Geo 555 bandsaw that I used to have previously. Now, this whole back alleyway of the shop, this area from the bench to the back wall, is postured area for infeed and outfeed for the bandsaw, for the Performax, and for my router table. Each of these tools are on mobile bases, and I've got the ability to pull the tools out, and I have a reliable 8 feet worth of infeed and outfeed once I get the tool postured for use. Now, as I've highlighted previously, I've got a dust collection run that is that rigid PVC pipe that comes up vertically, and then it transfers to a flex hose. The flex hose ties into a small section of PVC pipe to act as a holster, and I transition down to a 2.5-inch run for using the router table. But I can pull the flex hose out and connect it up to the pigtails that are on both the bandsaw as well as the Performax. So it's a modular system that works pretty much instantaneously. A scroll saw that's out and ready at a moment's notice, and I haven't used it in quite a while. But you know, scroll saws, when you need them, you really need them. Coming back along this area, I've got a Jet 1442 lathe. And all the sundry supplies for it are either in the cabinets or in the drawers below. It's a nice dedicated space, and right now it just has a bunch of stuff piled on it because I haven't used it in a little while. Here's the second major area for storing lumber. I've got a 24-inch deep set of shelves on the left and a 48-inch deep set of shelves on the right. And to the right of the shelves, and it might be a little bit difficult to see at this stage, but I'll move over a little bit. I've got 8-foot tall bay for full sheet goods. Right now I happen to have mostly cut down half pieces. And a whole bunch of dimensional lumber piled next to it. Actually at the stage right now where I've got a little too much wood in the shop right now, but you know, such is life. Coming around the corner, we've got one of my favorite tools in the world right now, the Legacy Ornamental Mill. This thing has really opened up an amazingly large amount of possibilities for me and for my shop. The cabinet doors that you see on the left with the diamond shape were milled as flat stock on the Legacy, and obviously you've got the turned spindly things up in the rack, which is the other half of what the Legacy does so well. Taking advantage of the back side of the lumber rack, that's where all my clamps have gone, and I've got the planer on a mobile base with, guess what? More wood. A lovely pink color of insulation, the Mobile Fest tool system, and blanket chest that the client has yet to pick up, and a recently completed project that cabinet that is right inside the door that used up some materials that were just kicking around, and gave me some much needed storage space and got more material out of the lumber rack. All in all, what this should do is give you guys an opportunity to see what a carefully laid out 2.5 car garage workshop looks like. No, I can't put a car in the garage. I haven't been able to for probably a good 15 years. Thanks to a very understanding wife, she's given me the ability to convert the garage into workspace. Hopefully this gives you guys some food for thought of some things to do, maybe some ideas that you can translate into your own workshops. Thanks for looking.